Nu'man ibn Bashir attacked Ain at Tamar with 2,000 men. Sufyan ibn Auf attacked Anbar and Madain with 6,000 soldiers. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud of Fizari attacked Tima with a force of 1,700, and Za'ak ibn Qays and his followers laid waste the township of Waqsa. They killed all those men, women, and children whom they suspected to be friendly to Ali, and they plundered the public treasury wherever they found one. 3. The acquisition of Egypt immeasurably strengthened Muawiyah's hands. He then sent units of his army into Hijaz, Jazira and Iraq. They went around plundering, spreading terror, and killing. Muawiyah attacked the banks of the Tigris in person and seized the public treasury in Jazira. 4. Muawiyah and his generals had adopted a policy of waging irregular warfare against the successor of the Prophet of Islam and the sovereign of all Muslims. To them irregular warfare meant unconventional warfare, limited conventional military actions, and unlimited terrorism. They plunged the Dar al-Islam into a trauma from which it has never recovered. In 660, Muawiyah sent Bizr ibn Artad with 3,000 soldiers to Hijaz in Yemen on a rampage of pillaging, destroying, burning and killing. In Yemen, Bizr killed with his own hands the infant twins of Ubaydullah ibn Abbas, who was the governor of that province. When he returned to Syria, gorged on innocent blood. Tens of thousands of Muslims had been killed. One of the governors of Ali, in a frontier district, was Kumail ibn Ziyad. He sought his master's permission to raid Syria. Such raids into Syria, he said, would compel Muawiyah to halt his own raids into Hijaz and Iraq. But his application drew forth a characteristic reply from Ali, who wrote to him, "I hardly expected you to suggest that we raid the towns and villages in Syria. It is true that the Syrians are our enemies, but they are also human beings, and what's more, they are Muslims. If we send raiding parties into Syria, it is most probable that the victims of our punitive action will not be the Syrian marauders who violate our borders but the Syrian civil population, the non-combatant folks. Is it, therefore, right and fair to plunder and to kill them for the crimes they did not commit? No, they will not pay the penalty for the crimes of their leaders. The best thing for us to do, therefore, is to strengthen our own defenses against the enemy, and to rout him before he can do any harm to our people." The dominant logic of mirror image of matching terror with terror did not appeal to Ali. He considered is basically fallacious. Though Ali drove the intruders out of his dominions, law and order had broken down. The Syrians began to violate the frontier with growing frequency. Bizr ibn Artad defeated the small garrison defending the strategic town of Anbar and occupied it. He then put the whole population to the sword as was customary with him. Ali called upon the Iraqis to stand up in defense of their homes against the Syrians but found them unresponsive. In winter they said that it was too cold to go on a campaign, and in summer they said that it was too hot. Many Iraqi leaders were still working for Muawiyah in return for his gifts and promises, and they spread disaffection in the country. Muawiyah also worked hard to undermine the allegiance to Ali, of the Iraqi army. For him, conflict was not limited to the operation of armies, but was carried on behind the front by his agents and partisans, by subversion and sabotage, and by propaganda and indoctrination. Since there was no punitive action against them, the Syrian marauders were emboldened to penetrate deeper and deeper into Iraq. Ali made many attempts to shake the Iraqis out of their lethargy, but they acted as if the Syrian raids were not hurting them. Their head in the sand attitude so exasperated him that he told them that if they did not obey his orders, and take up arms to defend their borders, he would abandon them in Kufa, and, with the handful of loyal followers he still had with him, would go and try to stop the enemy, regardless of the consequences. This threat appears to have worked. The Iraqis suddenly realized that if Ali abandoned them, they would be left leaderless. They, therefore, assured him that they would obey him, in peace and in war. Ali immediately set to work to reorganize the army, and to mobilize fresh troops. He summoned Abdullah ibn Abbas from Basra, and he ordered other leaders and their troops to assemble in the camp at Nukayla near Kufa. Ali had plunged into work to make up for time already lost through the earlier tardiness of the Iraqis in obeying his orders. But this new spurt of energy alarmed his enemies, and they plunged into intrigue. To forestall him, Ali had completed his preparations for an invasion of Syria, but just when he was giving finishing touches to his logistical plans, he was assassinated in the Great Mosque of Kufa at the dawn of Ramadan 19 of 40 AH. January 27, 661.5. We also condemn Abu Hurairah for his collusion with Busr ibn Artat in the massacre of thousands of Muslims. It has been reported by the Sunni historians, including Tabari, Ibn Athir, Ibn Abu al-Hadid, Allama Samhudi, Ibn Khaldun, Ibn Khalikan, and others that Muawiyah ibn Abu Sufyan sent the cruel Busr ibn Artat with 4,000 Syrian soldiers to Yemen via Medina to crush the people of Yemen and the Shias of Ali. The assailants murdered thousands of Muslims in Medina, Mecca, Taif, Tabala, a city of Tihama, Najran, Safa, and its suburbs. They did not spare the young or old of the Bani Hashim or the Shias of Ali. They even murdered the two small sons of the Holy Prophet's cousin, Ubaydullah ibn Abbas, the governor of Yemen, who had been appointed by Ali. It is said that more than 30,000 Muslims were killed on the order of this tyrant. The Bani Umayyah and their followers committed these insane atrocities. The Sunnis' beloved Abu Hurairah witnessed this slaughter and was not only silent but actively supported it. Innocent people, like Habir ibn Abdullah Ansari, and Abu Ayyub Ansari sought refuge. Even the house of Abu Ayyub Ansari, who was one of the Prophet's chief companions, was set on fire. When this army turned towards Mecca, Abu Hurairah remained in Medina. Now I ask you to tell us, in the name of Allah, whether this deceitful man who had been in the company of the Holy Prophet for 3 years, and who narrated more than 5,000 hadith from the Prophet had not heard those famous hadith regarding Medina. The ulema of both the sects 6 have quoted from the Holy Prophet who said repeatedly, "He who threatens the people of Medina with oppression will be threatened by Allah and will be cursed by Allah, by His angels, and by humanity. Allah will not accept anything from him. May he be cursed who threatens the people of Medina. If anyone harms the people of Medina, Allah will melt him like lead in fire." So why did Abu Hurairah join the army which devastated Medina? Why did he fabricate hadith in opposition to the rightful successor to the Prophet? And why did he incite people to revile the man about whom the Prophet had said, "To abuse him is to abuse me"? You decide whether a man who fabricated hadith in the name of the Prophet was not cursed. Many notable ulema 7 have written that Muawiyah ordered Busr to attack Sana'a, Yemen from Medina and Mecca. He gave a similar order to Zuhayk ibn Qais al-Fari and others. al-Faraj reports it in these words: "Whoever from the companions and Shia of Ali is found should be killed, even women and children should not be spared." With these strict orders, they set out with a force of 3,000 and attacked Medina, Sana'a, Yemen, Taif, and Najran. When they reached Yemen, the governor, Ubaydullah ibn Abbas, was out of the city. They entered his house and slaughtered his two sons Sulayman and Dawud in the lap of their mother. Ibn Abu al-Hadid writes in his Sharh an-Naj al-Balagha, Volume 1, page .121, that in this raid 30,000 people were killed, excluding those who were burnt alive. Allah says, "And whoever kills a believer intentionally, his punishment is hell, he shall abide in it, and Allah will send his wrath on him and curse him and prepare for him a painful chastisement." 93. This holy verse explicitly says that if a man kills a single believer intentionally, he deserves Allah's curse, and his abode is in hell. Wasn't Muawiyah associated with the murder of believers? Did he not order the killing of Hajar ibn Adi and his 7 companions? Did he not order that Abdur Rahman ibn Hassan al-Ghanzi be buried alive? Many Sunni scholars 8 have reported that Hajar ibn Adi was one of the eminent companions who, along with 7 companions, was brutally murdered by Muawiyah. Their crime was refusing to curse Ali. Imam Hassan was the elder grandson of the Holy Prophet. Was he not included in Ashab al-Kisa, people of the mantle? Was he not one of the 2 leaders of the youths of paradise and a believer of exalted rank? According to the reports 9, Muawiyah sent poison to Asma, Judah, and promised her that if she killed Hassan ibn Ali, he would give her 100,000 dirhams and would marry her to his son Yazid. After the martyrdom of Imam Hassan, he gave her 100,000 dirhams but refused to marry her to Yazid. Would you hesitate to call Muawiyah accursed? Is it not a fact that in the Battle of Siffin the Great, companion of the Holy Prophet Ammar ibn Yasir, was martyred by Muawiyah's order? All the prominent ulema say with one accord that the Holy Prophet said to Ammar ibn Yasir, "It will not be long before you will be killed by a rebellious and misguided group." Have you any doubt that thousands of devout believers were killed by Muawiyah's subordinates? Wasn't the pure and valiant warrior, Malik Ashtar, poisoned by Muawiyah's order? Can you deny that Muawiyah's chief officials, Amr ibn al-As and Muawiyah ibn Khadij, brutally martyred the commander of the faithful's governor, the pious Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr? Not content with that, they put his body into the carcass of a donkey and set it on fire. If I were to give you the details about the believers killed by Muawiyah and his officials, it would require not one night, but several. Do you gentlemen still doubt that Muawiyah deserves to be cursed? 10. Slaying Shia Muslims had begun since Imam Ali's term. After Imam's forces dispersed and there was no security found but in Iraq, Muawiyah deployed his troops along with some envoys to various areas, among whom were Busr ibn Artat, Sufyan ibn Awf Ghamidi and Da'q ibn Qays. Their responsibility in cities was to trace and kill any Shia they noticed at Muawiyah's behest. Busr set out to Medina where he killed many of Ali's disciples and enthusiasts and demolished their houses as well. He then went to Mecca and Surat respectively and slayed any Shia Muslim he discovered. Ultimately, he left there for Najran and martyred Abd Allah ibn Abd al-Mutin as well as his son. Earlier we presented a profile of his crimes. Among areas that Busr passed en route and plundered was an area the residents of which were from the tribe of Hamdan, Ali's Shia Muslims. Ambushing them, Busr killed numerous men and captured a number of women and children. For the ever first time Muslim women and children were captured. These measures were once again adopted later in Karbala. About Busr, Masdi has written that he slayed a number from the tribes of Khuzaa and Hamdan together with a group known as Al-Abna, from Persian race in Yemen. He killed anyone of whose attachment to Ali he heard. Setting out to Anbar, Awf ibn Sufyan martyred ibn Hassan al-Bakri in addition to Shia's men and women. After Hassan ibn Ali had to compromise with Muawiyah, one of the menaces the Imam felt was the security of Ali's Shia Muslims. Hence it was stipulated within the contract that Ali's disciples should be all endowed with security. Although Muawiyah had conceded it, immediately on the same day he announced that he would disregard the entire commitments. Muawiyah's governor of Kufa, Ziyad's main mission was to suppress the Shia Muslims of Kufa. Throughout Iraq, he was always seeking after Shia Muslims and anywhere tracing he slayed them, Ibn Atham said. The first measure taken by Ziyad was cutting off the hands of those nearly 80 who were not convinced to swear allegiance to him. Ziyad's harsh treatment in Basra, with a group of the Kharijites in addition to Shia Muslims, was proverbial. He had declared a kind of martial law in Basra. At nights, following the night prayer, the opportunity people had for staying outdoors was as long as reciting the Surah chapter of the cow. During the curfew, Ziyad's soldiers slayed anyone they traced. Historians have introduced Ziyad as the ever first one who drew his sword to people, arrested them by accusing them and chastised them with suspicion. Among the Shia Muslims martyred by Ziyad were Muslim ibn Zaymir and Abd Allah ibn Nujah, who were both from the tribe of Hadram. In a letter to Muawiyah succeeding Hur's martyrdom, Imam Hussein had commemorated their martyrdom too. He cut off the limbs of people and blinded them. Muawiyah himself murdered a great number as well. Elsewhere it has been written that Muawiyah had issued the verdict of